Hi everyone, how are you all doing? This is Sue on Money. Welcome to my annual Feng Shui overview series. So this year I have so much information that I want to share with you, which instead of making it a super long video, I would love to divide it into different segments and different layers so that we can understand the cosmic energy from a different angle. So by now, I'm pretty sure that quite a lot of you might have already listened to or watched videos about prediction and forecast about 2021 to get a feel on how this year is going to unfold so that you can make your plans accordingly. So that's what we are going to focus on in this video series, which for today, we will first take a look at the mental arts year and to see the energy overview in the collective sense of how this arts year will bring to us. So the topic of today, I name it as the arts year, back to normal question mark, because are we going to get back to normal? Or do we really want to get back to the old normal? I think that's the more important question than the first one, right? So as I've always shared with my feng shui clients as well as followers, the purpose of forecasting is only to give us a better expectation management so that we can kind of get prepared, whether it's psychologically or making our plans with enough flexibility and leeway in case something sudden will happen in the future. So it's not really about predicting when there will be an earthquake, when there will be a market crash, and when what will happen. And for me personally, as an astrologer, I could say on behalf of most of the astrologers out there that we are not here trying to give you some kind of really precise or concise prediction to scare you. The reason that we are giving these clues that we get, whether from our channeling or from our astrology insights, is to get you prepared, is to help you understand. Maybe you might be feeling some kind of sensation or feelings that doesn't make sense. So we give you clues to understand what is happening and what might be happening. And we will be humble enough that the clues that we get does not represent the full picture. And we may not even understand from the perspective of the creator of the universe that why this is happening to a certain type of people. So we only get clues and we make the most of what we know or what we could take a peek on when we get those insight, right? Um, So never take any forecast or prediction as they are already carved in stone. They are not. And as astrologers, we are humble enough to tell you that we never see the whole picture, and neither for you. So um, just see the following guides and insights as some kind of post-it notes to give you a tip here and there so that you can get more psychologically prepared. Okay. So in this particular episode, we will focus on talking about the metal arts year and the energies overview in the collective sense. And then there will be another episode and then there will be another episode where we'll focus on how that applies to you personally. And that episode will be exclusive for my Patreon supporters. So if you are joining me on Patreon, you will be able to see that episode where I'll talk about how this year is going to impact you in person and what is your annual theme. And then there will be another episode where I talk about the grander scheme of timeline where we are now in the 180 years cycle. And then later on, I will release further episodes where we'll talk about feng shui in general and feng shui activation for your business, for your health, for your personal life, as well as some New Year rituals that I will share with you to activate better luck for the new year. So just a tiny bit about me and who I am. My name is Sue on Money, and I live in Hong Kong. I'm a Buddhist, and I started learning feng shui and Chinese metaphysics since age 13. So before I come out of that woo-woo closet to become a feng shui and Chinese astrologer, I was in human resources in the corporate world, and eventually I find that doesn't match with who I want to be and what I want to achieve in this world. I left the corporate world and developed my own business in Chinese metaphysics. So besides this, I am also certified traditional Chinese medicine wellness specialist. I'm not a doctor, but I'm a wellness specialist giving advice on food, on nutrition, on improving well-being by using the traditional Chinese medicine approach, as well as a Tibetan singing bowl practitioner. So it's my mission to spread and share feng shui knowledge and make feng shui something as a common sense across the globe, because we all have a home and we all deserve to have good energies within this space that we call home. Okay? So we are all in transitional times, and you all know that with 2020 such a big year with so much uncertainty, so much shakeup in the world, whether in the political scene or in the economic scene, we all know that we are in transitions. So if we take back a step and have a grander look of the cycles, that's how we see it from the Chinese metaphysics point of view. So we have a 180-year cycle, and then every 20 years, every 2 decades, there will be one period, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So right now we are approaching the end of period 8, about to enter period 9. So each 2 decade period have some key themes and signatures. So for example, period 8, where we are right now, represents young men. So we can see young men as relatively younger men as president in France, and in the States, Obama in these 20 years. It also represents real estate, something really solid, slow progress, one step at a time, hierarchical structure. So things like that would be period 8. And then in period 9, it would be about middle-aged women. It would be about the virtual world, the non-physical world, the spirituality, the psychology. It also represents separation and things like that. So I will dive deeper on the themes of period 8 and period 9 in another episode. But right now, supposedly we are only entering period 9 in the year 2024. However, a lot of astrologers, after observing what has been happening in 2020, we could kind of get a glimpse that might be period 9 has already arrived, because this so-called 20 years for each period is a rough figure. It's not a very precise calculation. So there's a high chance that over decades and over hundreds of years, without the adjustment of leap month or leap days or leap year, there could be quite a lot of gap between the rough estimate and the actual time of energy change. So based on what have already happened in 2020, it might it might be fair to say that we are entering period 9 very soon, maybe right now or earlier next year. And then adding one more layer to this, besides we are transitioning from period 8 to period 9, we are also at the end of 180-year cycle, and we are about to end this cycle, and then we will be going back to period 1 after 2044. So when you see that when you see the time we are in right now from that perspective, that makes it even more humble that the bigger change is happening on us for a reason, because there's a mega cosmic plan that is going to be implemented on Earth. So it's just a quick overview, and I'll dive much deeper on the episode about period 9. In Chinese metaphysics, we always say that what forms our future reality consists of three major elements: the heaven, human, and earth. So the heaven means the cosmic weather, the cosmic energy. Human means who we are and what we do. And earth means our environment, our feng shui, our resources, our connection with nature. So the heaven, man, and earth collapse together will form a future reality. However, when will what be happening would depends highly on the example in your natal birth chart. So for example, in your birth chart, it is shown that you are supposed to live a very comfortable life in terms of resources, in terms of support, and in terms of wealth. However, if it doesn't match with your current reality, chances are, number one, you might not pay enough effort in the direction that you're meant to be taking. Number two, you might not make the best of use of your home space or an office space and your environment, so that you can carry out the best version of who you can be. And number three, you might not get aligned with divine timing, so that the time when you're taking actions, if it is not aligned with divine timing, you might take more effort and get less results when it's not aligned. And when you're making decision according to how it's supposed to be, then usually things will flow much easier. Which is why it's very important for you to constantly take a look at the cosmic weather, like you take a look at the weather forecasts every day or every week, so that you can adjust yourself and adjust your plan according to divine timing. And over time, you can make better decisions even without looking at the cosmic weather calendar. And that is exactly what I share on my Patreon channel, where you will get a daily cosmic weather forecast on a monthly wheel that you can download and sync it with your daily calendar, and then you can take actions according to the divine timing while understanding the cosmic weather. How great is this, right? So when the cosmic weather is favorable to you, be more proactive, be more active, take more actions, be more courageous, start new things, and embrace change. And then when the cosmic weather is not that favorable to you, be patient, focus on your healing, focus on inner work, learn something, build a solid foundation. And that's how we work with cosmic energies. So when we take a look at the annual energy, we always take a look at the 5 elements and the yin and yang of that year. So in 2020, the host of the year is metal red. You all know that, right? The metal, the metal element in 2020 is of yang, of masculine energy. So it represents swords, scissors, knives, and weapons. Young metal also represent warrior energy, a fighter energy, a hero energy at its best, or a killer energy at its worst. So it also represents determination, discipline, fierceness, and authoritative measures. Young metal is cold, is distant, is tough, is forceful, and it also represents iron fist, if if we just take this symbolism, it represents 2020 quite well, right? And then red is the first zodiac among the 12-year cycle. A red is smart, it's nimble, it's flexible, it's very cunning in a way, and it reproduces very, very fast. And as we can see, the virus, it really reproduce very fast, it moves very fast. So for us human, it might not be a good thing that the virus can reproduce so fast and move so fast. But I guess from the perspective of the universe, it might take a more holistic approach. So when you look at 2020, it might be a year for the planet Earth to recover because humans are all trapped inside their homes. Factories are called to be shut down temporarily, or some even get out of business because of that. And because of the much less level of pollution, the earth can have a breathing air, can recover. Yeah, so it might be from the perspective of the universe, it might be a thing that has to happen for the earth to recover much sooner. Yeah, so red also represent yin water, and it represents winter's rhythm, or rain. It represents the month of December. So a lot of people would describe 2020 as a year that is frozen, which is very correct in terms of Chinese metaphysics because red or yin water represents December. So because last year's energy, metal produce water, which make the waters even stronger, we see the overwhelming influences of the yin water and the red energy. And then what's coming next in the metal Asia? So we will continue to have a metal year, but this metal is of yin, and yin metal is that of a jewelry metal, the precious metal, which also represent gold, literally. So pay attention to the gold price because gold will be off center stage. A lot of people and money will pay attention to gold, literally. So yin metal also represent preciousness. People who were born in a yin metal day, they love everything beautiful. They are stylish. They have very good taste. They enjoy life that is delicate, that is sophisticated, and they would love to be subtly expressive, subtly uniquely different. Yeah. So it's a lot about good taste, about appreciating the beauty of life, whether it's expensive or in simple terms. So yin metal is also pretty fragile and they need a lot of care and attention. So they cannot stand to high stress and pressure. You know, when you put a precious metal in a very hot fire, it melts. So yin metal doesn't stand very strongly against pressure. And yin also could also represent doctors. So with that, we can probably foresee that the pandemic won't be affecting us that much this year because we have the doctors coming in. And I don't know if that would be the vaccine, it would be something else. But so anyway, we can say that we'll get medical breakthroughs and the pandemic won't be at the center stage this year at all. And then us. So us represent resilience, which we all need right now after such a year, right? Us is hardworking. It also represents loyalty, stubbornness, and kind-heartedness. Us people are pretty hard. No, us people are pretty slow to adapt, but they have really good heart. They are really hardworking. They're helpful, and they always have good intention for others. Us can also represent wet earth, as in the mud, the wet mud in the farmland. So in terms of timing, Ox represent January, which is the frozen earth just before spring. And then as you can see, earth produce metal, which means this year we have solid foundation to produce the doctors, to produce the gold price or gold attention, or to produce how we see life to be beautiful, how we appreciate what we have already right now, and to appreciate the beauty in our everyday life. So we have pretty strong foundation with our hard work, with our resilience, with our loyalty. Although it might be slow to adapt to the new world, we have solid foundation which help us make better breakthrough in terms of medical, in the medical scene, help us in making a better appreciation of what we already have, and help us in making life precious. So this is the positive sense of how we see things when we just take a look at that two elements. So if 2020 seems like a year of slow storms, like the picture on the left-hand side, then I would say 2021 is like the picture on the right-hand side, which the ice, the snow, start to melt. So living in Hong Kong, we don't have snow in winters, but I believe for those of you who have really cold winters where there will be a lot of snow, then I believe you understand that when the snow just begin to melt, it's actually very clumsy and it could become very annoying because you get dirty waters everywhere. The climate change very strangely, and then the floor is very slippery. Things like that, it could become clumsy and annoying when the snow just begin to melt. But then when you get over it, spring will arrive, which is 2022. So this is a year of snow melting. Yeah, literally. So of course we see hope and spring is about to arrive as long as we can get over it. So make sure our foundation is strong to put ourselves together to rebuild our life so that when spring finally arrives, which is 2022, we can fully blossom. So I'm going to put a few wild prediction right here, and then at the end of the year, we can review and see which ones will come true. So in terms of the pandemic, I predict that it will get off the public attention very soon with new medical solutions. The gold price will take the stage instead, and it will be under limelight. So gold doesn't only represent gold literally, it could also represent the monetary system. The share market might be the currency or new kind of money. So I'm not very educated in terms of finance and new finance like cryptocurrency, so I cannot comment on that. But I'm pretty sure that these will be the attention for 2021 about money, about gold, about monetary system in general, about currencies, things like that. So in terms of economy recovery, it will be, but it is slow. Everybody will work very, very hard for sure. When will there be any economic crush? I would say watch out for June to July, especially the monetary system or the share market or the currency. in terms of whether we will get back to school like previously, I can see there's some permanent change in the education system coming. So eventually, people or students won't go to school as they did in the past, or at least for the tertiary education, for those in university, it will be a totally different game. And I also predict that new forms of media will emerge, and the way of they broadcast information could be very, very different than what we already have right now. So when we talk about the metal oscilla, what precisely we are talking about is the duration between 3rd of February 2021 to 3rd of February 2022. Although the Chinese New Year starts only on the 12th of February, we count the cosmic energy change, which switches every year on 3rd or 4th of February. So as energy repeats in cycles, history also repeat in cycles. So some highlights over here on what have happened 60 years ago. In 1961, U.S. President John Kennedy established the Peace Corps. There's a freedom rider civil rights movement in the States. Kuwait becomes an emirate after British protectorate, the construction of the Berlin Wall, the Cold War, and Cuba adopting socialism, and YSL starting a fashion brand in Paris. And then we trace back 60 years further back in history. That was when the current Commonwealth of Australia established. It was also the year where the New York Stock Exchange crashes. The Vice President Theodore Roosevelt became the 26th President of the United States with his famous phrase, "Speak softly and carry a big stick," and the first Nobel Prize ceremony. So I'm not a history teacher, but if you are interested, you can dive even deeper into the history and see if there's any patterns to give you new insights. So we're going to dive even deeper to see what the energy formation is like for the metal oscilla, where we will take the birth chart of the year, which is the 3rd of February, 11 p.m. So in the birth chart, you can see 8 major elements. So in this birth chart of the year, there are 4 pillars: the year, the month, the day, the hour, and for each pillar, there are 2 boxes. So in total, there are 8 boxes. So on the upper row, it represents our mind, what appears to the external. And the bottom row represents our real actions, what's internal, what's our real motivation, what is kept in terms of resources. So you can see there is a lot of metal and water energy. And as metal produces water, the water and metal group energy is very, very strong and actually dominates the entire upper row, which is our mind. Which means that people this year will have a very, very active mind. They will have a lot of ideas of what the new world should become. So they will have new ideas, new insights, new contrasts of what the future should be like, and they would love to share this information. So a lot of talking, a lot of active imagining, a lot of innovative ideas flowing around the world between a lot of people. So everybody is trying to be very active in their mind, trying to create the future of their own or of of the entire human race. However, only active in the mind doesn't mean that we will put action into making that into reality, right? So this is a year that is very dominant in active idea creation and planning. So for now, we are pretty sure that 2021 will be a year where most people will be very active in idea generation, in communicating of ideas, of new insights, as well as making new plans. So that's about the mind, that's the external part. How about the economy? Well, in this chart, what represents the money is the fire element. And as you can see, there's only 1.5 fire element. The economy foundation is not very strong. And all these metal and water will fight to get the fire energy. So you can predict that the energy here is very competitive. A lot of planning, a lot of ideas, but very less execution because of lack of resources, maybe, or because they might not get the attention or visibility that they deserve. There are so many ideas suddenly coming up from everywhere, and given our attention span is only a fixed pie, when there are so many things trying to get our attention, it's spread very thin. So the really bright ideas might not get the visibility that they deserve. So attention become very competitive. Money and economy resources also become very competitive. So when we take a look at this year's energy, it seems like everybody is trying to plan to have new ideas, but in terms of execution, because of the competition in attention as well as the money resources, it might not be the best year for um, seeing real progress in a collective sense. This does not necessarily apply to you personally. So I'm only talking about the macro view of how the market is doing. It might not necessarily apply to you personally, but it feels like this, feels like a lot of competition for getting enough attention and resources, but lots of idea, lots of innovation. So it will be a wonderful year for creating new ideas because everybody will get new ideas anyway. So after taking a look at that chart, I have created a meme out of that. So what we think we're going to be like could be like Elsa in Frozen, that we think we finally move on. We think we finally accept that we are unique, that we are different, that we are going to create our own castle. That's how we think we're going to be like this year, with all that courage to be our own, all that strength to build our own destiny, to build our own castle. But in fact, inside, we actually feels like a very fragile snowman where we haven't healed from the trauma created and brought to us by the 2020 yet. A lot of us might not have the strength to rebuild our life yet because of what had happened to us in 2020, be it the traumas, be it the shakeups, be it the relationship issues. So a lot of things have happened in 2020 for many, many people, of separation, of life and death. And while we want to become hopeful and we want to be really constructive to rebuild our life, we might lack that strength. But still, we remain optimistic. It just takes more time for us to heal, for us to build our strength again, so that we can stand tall and face the storm again. So some keywords here for mental Aussie. Goal will become center stage. There will be mental drama because the mind is very, very active. There could be dramas. There will be slow recovery of economy. Home-based business will have rapid growth. The market will be very competitive. Everybody will have a wait-and-see attitude. There's a lot of plans, but there's not as much inactions. And because of the activeness in the mental activity, that a lot of people would dive into entertainment as their distraction. So the major themes and the potentials for the Middle Asia will be number one, active mental activities, thoughts, and ideologies. So lots of new ideas, plans, blueprints, concept, mental constructs, business and living models are going to be appearing in every aspect and sectors. So we can also see something like new economic experiment where everybody will get back on their drawing board to paint their post-pandemic future. However, we don't see much rebuilding energy yet. So everybody is taking the wait and see approach. So at best, we could see quite a lot of prototypes that is to be implemented or small scale experiment for trial and error to see what works and what doesn't. Home and personal businesses will be also on the rise. So the hidden economy will become much active. So hidden economy could be things like online businesses, or it could things like street market, food trucks, hawkers, or a way to put all these things online. Number four, is the demand on entertainment for distraction will boom. So we can expect that we can see more players joining the game of like Netflix, Disney. So we could have more varieties in terms of entertainment or might be virtual. On the negative side, because metal melts when the heat is high enough. So stress can really bend people. This year, pay more attention on our emotional well-being as well as those around us. You could also expect that integrity and ethics might not be as commonly seen in terms of when the economy is not good, and some people when they're on a survival stage, integrity might not be that important to them anymore. So there could be more crimes, more spam, more theft, more deception or fraud that is to be seen more than ever. So mental health will be at risk because people could become overly activated in their mind because they are influenced by the cosmic energy of the entire year. So everybody will get overly stimulated on their mind. So if you are really paying good attention to your own mental health, do the opposite. Although it doesn't feel natural, just force yourself and get disciplined to do the opposite and unplug yourself as long as soon as you feel that your mental health is being threatened, in a way getting yourself exposed too much to the media, to the internet and stuff like that. So really it's the question of, are you are they attention seeking, or they're seeking things to pay attention to? So there are a lot of objects out there trying to get your attention, but are you the master of your own attention? So are your attention being dragged around by everybody else, or are you in control, right? So have to say goodbye to FOMO and to be really so you really have to be a responsible guard of your own attention so that you can maintain a good health in terms of mental health and well-being. So the market will become very competitive, but you already expected that, aren't you? So my advice in a year like that could be to grow your own food. So number one, because we have an Austria, Oz is wet earth. Wet earth is also farming. Number two, when you take a hobby in farming, you can unplug yourself in a legitimate way so that you can get less activated in your mind, but more activated in your body and your connection with the earth. Number three, when you grow your own food, you save money, right? So you don't need that much to survive. And if you grow more than you need, you can exchange, and then you can build a tribe in your local community, which is even better in terms of community support. So my solution for you this year is to start growing your own food if you haven't started yet. And if you have already started that, make it even better in 2021, which I believe could become quite a solution, although it might not solve 100% of the issue that we're going to face this year. So if you're interested to understand what's your personal theme for the year, I'll teach you how to find out and understand what that is on my Patreon. So if we compare the purpose of 2020 and 2021, the purpose of 2020 is really a test of strength. So who can push through to the end? It gave us or the world a strong, compelling forces to uproot the old and corrupted. It implements the new game rule of the new cycle. It redefines what's the best for us as individual as well as a collective. I believe a lot of people have a very deep reflection of how we live our life and what needs to be changed moving forward. 2020 also gave us a lot of support in terms of reclaiming our personal power and to go inward and face our inner demons. And then moving on about the purpose of 2021, it gives new meaning to money, wealth, and abundance. So what does it really mean to live a comfortable life? How much money do I truly live? Do I vote with my money? Do I put my money to what I say I believe in? In this year, we could also see that people would become more proud to be different. So they will be less susceptible to the labels of others or how others see them. They will be very, very eager to explore their own path. So just like Elsa, as long as they can survive, I don't care what you think of me. That's how this year could make us all feel, so that we would feel proud to be different and to forge our own path. There will be less reliance on big firm and the government. And I would expect that there will be a lot of budding local economies that is separate from the real economy system that is going to happen in local tribes and communities. People are going to reclaim the sovereignty of the attention and focus thing matrix, as long as we can protect and to be the master of our own attention, we win. Okay, and I also expect that there could be new science research so as that our attention really do create reality, or our dreams really do exist in creating our future. So that's the purpose of 2021. So some final suggestion for 2021. Number one, say bye to FOMO, because everybody is trying to get your attention, and whoever can hold the focus wins. Number two, how to make life beautiful. So sometimes it doesn't take a lot of money and luxury for us to feel beautiful, for us to find the little happiness and the small bliss in our everyday life. So it's a very important change in the perspective for us to appreciate the little things in life that make our lives joyful and blissful. Number three, our focus on the sun, which means the sun is our power source. The sun is also the fire energy that we lack collectively this year. So chin up, face up, look up to the sun, be hopeful, be faithful, and do the work. And to believe that the sun will get us through. Number 4, cultivate resilience. Hard work will pay off. Number 5, build your tribe. So connect locally, get to know your neighbors, exchange stuff, and because as long because you can only get out of the grid as long as you have a strong local community support. Also, as I've repeated several times, that be very, very protective of what information and underlying emotions that you are exposing yourself to, whether it's media or entertainment or games. When you notice that your emotions is being triggered unproportionally in the virtual world versus what is actually happening in your real world, you really do have to pay attention and take that as a red flag that you should separate with that media that you're exposing yourself to. So that's my suggestion for you in 2021. And several months to be cautious of. Several months to be cautious of. April to May, there might be some fights and tension, will be heightened between countries, parties, or religion. June to July, lots of suspicion, rumors will flow around. Beware of share market and currency fluctuation. And then July to August, there will be the clashing of the monthly energy to the year's energy. So expect it to be the worst month of the year. So, for example, some natural disaster could happen in the summer. So this year is a yin metal year. Yin metal represents jewelry. It represents golden watches. So if you see yourself as the goldsmith or the maker of a watch, the maker of the jewelry, or the designer of the watch, or the designer of the jewelry, what do you focus on? So are you going to pay attention to what's happening in the world, what is shown on the TV, who is playing in the park, things like that? No. As a goldsmith or as a maker of the watch or the jewelry, you have laser focus to what is in front of you, to the masterpiece in front of you, or to the raw stone in front of you to make it into a masterpiece jewelry, right? So what you focus on is what is in front of you, is the present, is the precious metal right in front of you. So this year, see yourself as the goldsmith, or see yourself as the maker of the precious jewelry, and your only focus and attention is on the present to make your craft into a really high quality one, to make the best of what you have in front of the material, of the precious metal material in front of you. And it takes intense focus and precision in terms of carry out your action. So are you a good maker of jewelry of your life this year? The answer depends on you. Okay, so in the next episode, we will talk about period 9 and what the themes and trends we will be forecasting in the next 20 years. See you next time.